Ella Core is a 5G core that you can install in 5 minutes. My name is Guillaume and I run Ella Networks. In this video, we will not only install Ella Core, we will also integrate it with a 5G radio, create a subscriber, and use it to access our private 5G network with this iPhone. Okay, so to go through this tutorial with me, you will need a 5G phone, you will need a 5G radio, and a computer with 2 network interfaces. I will also be using a SIM card that I already burned with a smart card reader. The grocery list of specific hardware that I'm using will be in the video description. To use 5G Spectrum, you will also need a Spectrum license. The process to acquire such a license differs from country to country, so make sure to follow your local laws. In terms of connectivity, we will be using 2 different subnets. One is my home router's subnet that every device at home uses and receives IP via DHCP, and the other is a static private IP subnet that Ella Core and the 5G radio will use to communicate together. Okay, now let me share my screen. In the purple terminal here, I have an SSH session to the computer where we will install Ella Core, and in the blue terminal, I have an SSH session to the 5G radio. Okay, so in the computer where we'll install Ella Core, you can see that we're running Ubuntu 24.04. And let me run IP8 to show you that we're using 2 different network interfaces. The first is ENP3S0, which is connected to my home router's IP. And the second is ENP4S0, which is connected to the private IP subnet. Okay, now let's install Ella Core. We'll install it via the snap. This takes a few seconds. There we go, it is installed. Since Ella Core is a strictly confined snap, we need to grant it some permissions for it to function. So it needs to be connected to network control, process control, system observe, into firewall control. Okay, now I will edit the configuration file so that it matches with my system's network interfaces. The configuration file is under var snap Ella Core common core.yaml. Now I'll set N2 and N6 to use ENP3S0, and I will set N3 to use ENP4S0. There we go. So now let's start Ella Core. Okay, good. So now Ella Core is started. So we will open our browser and go to 192.168.40.9, which is the IP address of this computer at port 5002. Okay, we get this warning because we're using self-signed certificates. You can also configure Ella Core to use signed certificate. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to initialize Ella Core with a username and password. There we go, it is initialized. Now we'll click on operator and we'll configure Ella Core to use mobile country code 999 and network code 01. Since I already burned my SIM card, I'll also configure Ella Core to use a different home network key than the one that is randomly generated at startup. This key is used to configure the SIM card. Okay, if I click on radios, you can see that we don't see any radios here. So what I'll do now is I'll start this radio so that we will see it appear and connect. Okay. So this will take a few seconds, and in a moment we will see the radio appear here. There we go. So now we see that Ella Core is connected to this 5G radio. In advance, we can see that we had an ng setup request and response. So the radio is connected. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll create a new subscriber. So let's click on create, and I will paste the values that I used to burn the SIM card. key, and in OPC. Okay. Now the subscriber is created in ELA Core. So I'll be able to insert the SIM card in this iPhone and use it to access the network. So let me first press screen record so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm screen recording here, and I'll take the SIM card and I'll insert it into the iPhone. Okay, there we go. So in a few seconds, what we'll see here is instead of the SOS at the top right, we'll see the 5G connectivity get started. So that takes a few moments. What we'll also see is in the ELA Core UI, instead of the subscriber being set to deregistered, it will go to registered. Okay, so now on the iPhone, I see that I'm connected to 5G. And in the UI, I can also see that the subscriber is registered with the IP 1045.01. If I click on settings, I can see that, just a second, settings, then cellular. Here in non-public networks, I can see that I'm connected to network 99901. Under voice and data, I can see that I'm using 5G standalone. If I go to Wi-Fi, I can show that it's off. And now I can use a browser to search the internet. So I can search for ELA networks, for example, and it works. So now I can navigate the internet. I can go to GitHub and see more about this project. Let me press stop record. Okay, so that is it. In a matter of minutes, we were able to install ELA Core, integrate it with a 5G radio, create a subscriber, and use our iPhone to access the internet via our private network. Thank you very much for watching.